Hey, welcome back to Cedar Porch Homestead. I'm JR. We have an interesting topic that I'm going to bring up today because it was kind of asked of me a while back on, okay, so you guys living on backyard homestead, you produce a lot of your own meat like chickens and rabbits and quail, but how much do you actually produce for yourself and where do you get your other meat? So we're going to be talking about how we source our food today and how much we're able to produce right here on our backyard homestead. Well, as delicious as that was, you probably noticed that was pork ribs. And here on our backyard homestead, one of the things we don't have is we don't have any pigs. And it's not because they just came off the barbecue pit. We are not allowed to have pork or swine or any of those kinds of animals here on the backyard homestead because we're in city limits. So where do we get that pork? Matter of fact, do you see any beef cows around either? We don't have any beef cows either. So our pork, our beef, those are two items that we're not able to get on our own backyard homestead. Now, as far as eggs, quail eggs, we're also able to get our own backyard poultry for our meat consumption, and we have our own rabbits. Okay, so I'll address where we get that pork and beef in just a second, but first let me show you my rabbits. Now, our rabbits are right here in the apartment behind me, and what we do, we have a buck and two does that we breed for meat production. Now, they start out in the little four-person apartment. Then they come over here to our mobile rabbit tractor that we move around the yard twice a day. Now these guys are getting a fresh salad bar twice a day. They're getting an organic pellet, and they're also fertilizing our yard as we move them around. Now we do not push our breeders to the breaking point because we do not eat as much rabbit meat as some of the other protein sources out there. It's just not at the top of our list. We really do love it, but if we overeat it, well, there's no fat in it. You have to cook it with fat. It's just not up to exactly what we want all the time. So we produce somewhere in the neighborhood of 90 to 120 pounds of rabbit on our backyard every year. Now, while that does sound like quite a bit of rabbit meat, there really could be a whole lot more production, especially on a small scale, because the saying breeding like rabbits, well, it exists for a reason. These guys can produce and they can overproduce if you want them to, but we pull that back because about 100 to 120 pounds of rabbit meat is about all we want per year. Now, these ladies behind me do a wonderful job of producing eggs for us. However, the one thing that they do not produce is meat for our freezer. Now, we just got finished doing a run of meat birds that we got about 50 pounds of meat. We're going to do that 2 more times this year. So just on our backyard poultry for our meat production, we're pulling about 150 pounds of chicken right here on our half-acre homestead. Okay, so we're here in my daughter's aviary with her quail. Now, while we have only processed a few of these guys because we had too many males to our females, these guys are going to start being a protein source for our place as well. That's going to be something interesting to keep up with this summer because what we're going to do is start hatching our own quail, moving those around on our grass so that we have a pastured quail that we're also adding to our protein content. So as of right now, other than the eggs, these guys are creating 0 pounds a year. However, we hope to get some quail later on this year, and we'll be able to add to the different types of protein that we're producing right here on our own backyard. Okay, so these little hay wasters behind me, they add absolutely 0 protein here on our backyard homestead. Now, if we wanted to get into breeding and possibly get into some meat goats, that's not what we're gonna do with these guys. These are my wife's pets because they are virtually useless, and I don't know why we have them anymore. They didn't create milk the way we wanted them to, but this is what we have left. And sometimes there's just consequences to decisions you make. Well, these are called little consequences. Okay, so obviously we can't produce any pork or beef here on our backyard homestead, so let me show you where I actually get that. It's gonna be right out here. So we get a 25-pound box from Wild Pastures once a month, and that includes a lot of our beef and our pork, and that comes with a lot of different cuts. So we're gonna take this that we just got in the mail, and we're gonna put it in our deep freeze. Now, we actually do buy some of our beef here locally from a local rancher. Now, their beef is not rotationally grazed. It's not 100% holistically managed. However, it is better than probably anything else you're going to get at the store. But we have come with this kind of conclusion. We picked this up from someone else, and I'm passing this along as my information, that beef, because it is raised on grass for so much of its life before it goes to a feedlot, if there's one of the animals that or protein sources that you can kind of cheat on a little bit, it would be beef, because they were on grass for so long before going to the feedlot that they're going to pick up so many of those nutrients, and there's going to be a little bit of grace as long as there's no antibiotics and they're not being fed a lot of GMOs and all that other stuff. Some of that you can't really help, but the no antibiotics is really, really important, and our local rancher does not use antibiotics for their animals. If it's a sick cattle, it goes to the sale barn, not to the shelf. All right, so we got that in the freezer. We are kind of set up for the next several weeks. Like I said, we get those boxes. It's about a 25-pound box. We get that once a month. Now, so that's only like what, 300 pounds of protein a year that we're getting from outside sources. So we're generating quite a bit of protein between there and here. However, it's still not enough, so we're still having to try to fill in that gap a little bit. A family of 4, it would be quite easy for us to really need anywhere from 12 to 1,500 pounds of meat a year, and we're not able to generate that just quite yet here. We're working on it. We'll try to figure it out. So one of the big questions is, why is it so important that we maintain and eat such highly nutrient-dense food? And the reason for that, hold on one second, the cat needs to be pet. Okay, so the reason for that is, I will go back and say that my wife has had some issues with food for years and years. It's not quite my story to say, but I will go ahead and just put it out there that when she was like 24, 25, she came out of the doctor with, I think, 5 to 7 different medications that she would need to be on forever. It turns out that was all food related. She was able to heal herself with nutrient-dense food, and we're still on that journey. She fell in love with that journey so much that she is actually a holistic nutritionist. I'll leave a link for her website below, because she puts out some really good emails once a month. That's a shameless plug, and I'm not really all that upset that I was able to do that here. But myself, I've been in the fire service for almost 20 years, and of that, I've held a paramedic certification. And what I have known from being a paramedic is what we deal with is chronically sick people, and most of it is really surrounded by the way they eat. So much of that is going to be societal issues, whether it is diabetes, obesity, heart disease. So much of that stems not from the congenital issues, it stems from the way they treat themselves and what they eat. Your food has to eat something. Where is your food getting its feed from? If it is from an industrialized model to where it is row cropped, it's sprayed with pesticides and herbicides, it's a GMO crop, which means it's genetically modified, which means it is not a hybrid. It means that they have actually spliced the DNA of that whatever, and it is multiple species that only looks like the original, but it's not. When you have corn that's its own registered pesticide, and you eat that or take that in as high fructose corn syrup, guess what? Probably not the healthiest. So our plan for this channel is to continue bringing a lot of our homestead projects and things we're doing here in our backyard, along with some of the value of holistic management and nutritional value and health that comes with the things that we're doing here in our own backyard. If you're interested in taking that journey with us, make sure you're subscribed, hit that notification bell so you're notified when we come out with new videos. Give us a thumbs up and leave a comment below. We would love to know where you are with your own journey, or some of the things that you might have questions about. We love interacting with you guys. The community is actually pretty strong, because we try to really get in there and answer any questions that you may have, or learn something ourselves along the way, which is even more exciting for us. Other than that, we will see you on our next video. Thank you so much.